Welcome to Q Aquatics and Exotics. My name's Susie. And tonight I want to talk about some planning that most of us have to do in the fish keeping hobby. You ever have some fish that are just starting to get too big for the tank and is ready to upgrade? Well, I'm going to need some help. So I got a special guest coming on to help me plan how do I take care of these big fish. But before we get started, let me start with
Hey everybody, it's Susie Q and I'm here to show you just what I do. I have a passion for fish and exotics too, so come along with me, it's Susie Q. Hey everybody, it's Susie Q and I'm here to show you just what I do. I got a passion for fish and exotics too, so come along with me, it's Susie Q. Hey everybody, it's Susie Q and I'm here to show you just what I do. I have a passion for fish and exotics too, so come along with me, it's Susie Q. Hey everybody, it's Susie Q. Hey everybody, it's Susie Q. Na na, hey everybody, it's Susie Q, so come along with me. Said I'm Susie Q.
I know that could be irritating to some, but I can't help it, man. I can't get enough of it. It's also the song I sing to Sophie all the time. How is everybody? I hope you're enjoying this amazing holiday season. Hopefully you got some time off from work, um, and enjoying some family. So yeah, it's nice and quiet around here. How is everybody? Oh, it's Kenny. Kenny, Sandy, Danny, Peplin. What's going on, everybody? Hey, Dragon Layer. So today I want to talk about what do you do when you start getting fish? Like I have a lot of fish that are very small, but they're going to be getting very large. And I have to start planning how to transfer over from 40-gallon breeders to maybe 120-gallon tanks. What's the process? What's my planning? What should my steps be? So I called one of my friends who's got a lot of tanks and asked if he could help me plan. And you guys all know him. If not, you will by the end of the night. I want you to welcome Mike from the Fish Tank Barn. Let's see if I can bring Mike on board. Hey,
So
Mike.
yeah, I would definitely. Hey Susie, how's it going? Looks like the hat has gotten
I love
sideways.
your hat. Look at that. When I first saw your hat, I thought it was one of those Instagram, not Instagram, but one of those, the ones the kids use where they have different things swimming around their head that's not really there.
Oh, like a TikTok or something.
Yes. I love it.
So yeah, so my sister got this for me for Christmas. So it's a clownfish hat. So however, it's looking sideways. Either the camera's sideways or I'm sideways. But
Awesome.
either way,
Awesome.
so
Well, hey, Chris Biggs. I see Biggs in the house. Look at this. Monster Girl John. How is everybody? Sandy, Rob. Oh, this is great. So I know a lot of you guys have the same similar fish room that I have or have started that I've got some fish that are growing and growing and I don't have much time. I probably only have a couple months and I'm not in a position to just go out and buy 5 monster tanks. So I asked Mike to come help me figure out all these fish that I have to get them into larger tanks and maybe combine some of them together so have less tanks, same amount of water. So Mike, are you up for the job?
I am up for the job.
Nice. So before we get started with the actual fish that I'm talking about, what is the basic like steps that you go through to try to combine multiple tanks?
It's really kind of I guess it depends on your person and it depends on what you want to do. Like if you want to breed fish, for example, that's a different setup than if you just want a community tank. So, for example, I'm going to use the Goodies that you talked about last week. The Goodies, you want to keep those in their own tank. They have specific locations. They're endangered. There's various reasons you want to keep them by themselves. But for example, the tank behind me, with the Severums and the Geophagus and everything behind me, this is more of a community tank, and I'm not really looking to breed them. So it's really kind of your goals, your space, obviously money and everything else together, but it's kind of like how fast they grow, whether they get along. There's a lot of different things to keep in mind.
Oh, okay. Okay. So do they necessarily have to be from the same region?
No, not necessarily. I mean, there's purists out there who say that they should be from the same lake, same region, but it depends on your goals again. A lot of it really comes down to goal setting. Like, what do you want to do with this tank? This tank is more of a display tank with a nice background, driftwood, some kind of showy fish in it. While some other tanks I have, which are for breeding, for example, are just guppy grass and fish. I mean, so it really just depends.
Oh, awesome, awesome, awesome. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Let me see if I can add me back in. Maybe not. Oh, there I am.
Hey.
Oh, hey, Marco from Italy. Oh, we got a super chat. Peplin, thank you so much for the super chat. Got a $2. He says, great guest, Q. Woohoo!
Thank you, Peplin.
That is awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So tell me a little bit about yourself, your channel, your style of fish keeping.
So basically, I've been fish keeping basically kind of off and on all of my life, but I really did a lot with saltwater. So my first 8 years or so was all saltwater. I got involved with marine fish breeding, which is why I have the clownfish upstairs and the clownfish on my head. And then kind of started playing around. Breeding saltwater fish is really, it can be rather boring, especially like with clownfish. They don't spawn readily. It's not an easy thing to do. And I got bored, honestly. And I started playing around with freshwater fish. And I started, getting into it more, kind of using kind of some saltwater techniques to kind of go along with, like a lot of automation and stuff like that to kind of build the fish barn. And started playing a lot with Gobies, live bears, African cichlids. So I'm really starting to get, more and more into things like rainbow fish, more egg layers. So I really kind of have a breeding background. So that's kind of a lot of what I do.
Okay. So the fish that I am breeding currently are two different sets of Karas fish that I think they'll be fine in 40-gallon breeders. So they're not even going to play a factor into tonight's thing, which is good. Because the fish I'm talking about, I'll give you some examples. I got a trimac. I've got a red devil. I got a couple Oscars. I've got two gorgeous electric blue Jack Dempseys. 3 Polypterus. I've got Frontosas, Morais. I got 2 Redorais. I think they're Biahes. They might have a different name now. Paranthrops. Maybe I said that right.
Paratherops is what they're called.
Okay. Well, we got another super chat. I didn't mean to just go. Dannykins Aquatics, $5 super chat. Much love, Q. Love the hat, Mike. How are ya? Thank you.
Doing great, thank you.
That is so awesome. Look at that. Oh my gosh. So I am not in a position where I can go out and just buy 3 or 4 monster tanks and just get them set up in an empty room. What I'm going to have to do is tear down tanks. So this has to be very strategic. I'm not in a rush. So the Trimac right now is in a divided tank with the Red Devil, and they're both kind of small in a 75-gallon. They seem to be okay. Upstairs in my 120, I have 3 pretty large catfish that I am being like a, what do you call it, a stepmom to, but she says I might be able to keep them if I want. I mean, they're great. 2 tinfoil barbs and some mysterious cichlid that we think is in the hero family. But most of those fish are disabled. They're either missing an eye or missing a fin. So they're in the 120. But if I tear down 4 40-gallon breeders, I've got to make sure those are the fish I'm using. So it's not just setting up new tanks. It's more
And
like, go ahead.
yeah, no, I was thinking about this when you were talking, and I guess one of the things you could do too, to kind of alleviate the setup pressure, is buy some Rubbermaid totes, some of the big like 100-gallon Rubbermaid totes that you could store some fish in, as you're doing this process too. And I didn't think about that until we just started talking here.
Okay, so Tom is asking, why am I taking down tanks? My concern is I have a 40-gallon breeder with 2 electric blue Jack Dempseys and 3 Polypterus. Might start getting a little tight. I have in another 40-gallon breeder 4 Severums. And I got 3 Severums over here. I've got some Oscar here in a 55 and Oscar over there in a 55. And in this 55 with my 4 Frontosis and 2 Morais, I know that these guys are going to need a larger tank. So it's not that I want to tear tanks down. I want a larger tank. I want to start with maybe a 180, something that's 6 foot long, something that I also have a Fahaka puffer upstairs. Now I do know that some of these fish are standalone fish, probably anyway. So I don't think I need a 180 for a standalone fish, but I might. So it's not that I want to tear down, that I think I have every inch of my house occupied. So I just can't set something up. Something has to come down in order to put up a 180. So if I took these 4, let's say in front of me, I got my wall of 40-gallon breeders. Took down 4 40 gallons, put up maybe using, making my own stands, using the cinder blocks and the 4x4s maybe, making a 180 on top and 2 40-gallon breeders on the bottom. So I'm thinking, what would go in that 180 and how would that alleviate some of my problem of some of my fish? And it's not critical because they're still kind of small. Like my Fahaka puffer is this big. I got him, he was the size of a pea puffer, so he's got some time. My Polypterus, they're probably maybe 10 inches. They're still babies. My electric blue Jack Dempseys, one's 8 inches, one's 6 inches. I don't know. I think they stay small, but I was just trying to get a feel. Like, can they go with my Bredorais? Can the silver dollars go with the Oscars? What about my Severums, my angelfish? Well, the angelfish, I think I'll be okay in the 55. But that's why I feel like in my head, when I try to plan this, it's all over the place. And I don't have much room for error. And I don't even have a tank. So I'm looking on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace for a very affordable large tank.
You never know where you can find them.
Exactly. So I just want to be prepared if I do get a good sized tank. Oh, Haley's in the house. I'm very, very happy. Hey,
Hello, Haley. How's it going?
Oh my God, we had so much fun, didn't we?
Oh, we did. That was a riot.
Oh my gosh. Oh, shiny thing. Did you see, let me see what he said. Did you see Scott's recent video where he combined different cichlids? Did you see that one, Mike?
I actually didn't catch that one.
I did not catch that one yet. I am going to check that out tonight, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, it was, when you sent me the list yesterday, it was definitely, there were some challenges to it for sure.
So what kind of challenges?
It was kind of putting, like she said, she has a lot of fish that are really one-off fish, and it depends on the behavior of certain fish. Mm-hmm. Like the Fahaka puffer, for example, it could go with other fish, or it probably couldn't with other, depending on how it behaves. One of the things I kind of used as a guide is the tank actually behind me, where I have Severums and I have Geophagus in here and convicts and some other things. Mm-hmm. But you could do that tank with Oscars, take out convicts and Geophagus and add Oscars to it. And, this is a 245-gallon tank. very similar to a 180. It's just a little bit taller and a little bit wider, but it's still it's something you could do. And then one of the things too is these were fish I really hadn't kept, so I had to do a little bit of research as well into those fish and seeing, you know, like I've not seen a Vieja Bradori or and so I was like, I did go to your normal spots, and how big does this get, and so and then kind of when you research that fish, you realize it's a tank buster, and it's like, well, you probably want to put that, it gets a foot long, so you probably want to put that in a 120 by itself.
Right, right, right. So it almost seems like, and I could be wrong, it almost seems like my 40-gallon breeder should be being replaced with like some 120s and 180s for the fish that I have.
That's kind of where I was heading with it when I did the list. I was starting to go through it, and I'm like, kind of using some things as some other channels or some other places as a guide. I kind of was like, okay, the 120 is kind of a great tank for something like a Trimac, a Red Devil.
Mm-hmm.
The Fajaka Puffer, if it needs to be by itself, it's got a great footprint. With the 4x2x2 is a great tank for something that gets like a foot long, where it can turn around. So that's kind of what I thought there. And then 180s for stuff like Severums and Oscars. And then the other thing I struggled with, and it was more of my knowledge base with it, was the catfish. The catfish, I don't keep a lot of the catfish, so that took a little bit of time to research. How big does the feather fin get? How big is the Synodontis? And so I kind of ended up splitting them up in between tanks just to kind of keep the aggression down.
Yeah.
And then the last ones that were really kind of a struggle for me were like the barbs and the silver dollars, like the tinfoil barbs and silver dollars, which I don't think you mentioned yet. Where it's like, where do those kind of fit into the equation?
Oh, hopefully. I gotcha. So Tom is saying your frontosa should get at least a 125. And we were talking about footprints, right? So some fish it's more important that you have a 4 foot long, longer tank. The other fish that you were talking about, they have to be deep enough to turn around it.
Yeah, see, I put the frontosa in a 120, which is using the 4x2x2, giving it more depth.
Okay, what's the difference between a 120 and 125? Is
125 is 6 by, I think it's 18, maybe like 18 by 24. Okay. So I went with the depth, but they're kind of that's where some of it comes down to like preference and stuff too, right? I kind of thought the frontosa could be 120, but like I said, it's either one would be fine, right?
Right.
It's just going to be wider.
Now, John had a good idea, John Larson. His idea was to trade in some of the big fish and get some store credit.
That's kind of where I was thinking too, is maybe once the auctions start back up, maybe auction, some of them go to the auction depending on what you want.
Oh, yeah. Are we ever going to, Tom, are you still here? Are we ever going to be face to face ever again in life? That would be nice.
I mean, that's a lot of times like for like breed, like going back to kind of the breeding thing. That's what I do with fish. Say I want to move on from a breeding perspective, right? Is I'll take those to the auction. I'll auction the brood stock off and get something new.
See, and this is hard for me because I've always had, I guess, mammal pets or reptile pets where a pet is for life. Like you don't
I hear you.
Take your pet in and trade it in. And I do know that fish might be a little different, but I don't want to trade in my fish just because they're getting too big, as opposed to my whole intent was to like I gotta tell you, these Oscars, they're pets. The frontosas I don't think like me very much, but they're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful.
I think it depends on the fish too. Like you have a lot of wet pets, right? Like Trimacs, Red Devils.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of like live bears and rainbow fish, and where you don't get as attached to the guppies, for example, or swordtails, or as you would like a wet pet.
Let's see. Haley is agreeing that the auction should start back up. Yes. When does that happen? That's what I'd like to know, Miss Auctioneer. You guys were a great team. You guys were a great. That was the show right on the onset of these restrictions, wasn't it?
It was.
It was. I remember I made some signs up that we weren't going to shake hands. Like, don't take it personally. We're just going to like
Bump elbows or something, right? It was.
Wow, doesn't that seem like it was a long time ago?
It was. I mean, it's gonna have a birthday soon, in like 3 months.
Wow. Just my
Like I
first-
haven't seen my desk from work since I left for that trip.
Wow. Yeah, and that was a blast, man. That was a blast.
Like literally that that Thursday was the last time I saw my office.
Really?
Yep, I haven't been back since. I was on the way down there because it's about an 8-hour drive down to Maryland from here, and I was texting with my boss at the time, and it was like, yeah, he's like, we're not coming back. And as a habit, I always take my computer and stuff with me for in case a kid gets sick or whatever happens, right? And I always have it with me. That way I won't ever hear from them.
Right.
So
Now, remember, we didn't know what was going on, and we didn't know if it was real or not real. Some fish tubers went, some fish tubers didn't. Nobody really knew what was going on.
it was weird, but I was back and forth where I was like, well, do I go? And I was like not gonna go, and then I was gonna go, and then not gonna go, and I got to the point where it was like 8 a.m, and I had to either make a decision, and so I'm like, well, I'm going,
Yeah.
and so I got in the van and I drove through, drove all the way down there, but the wildest thing was driving home. In Ohio, they have, in Pennsylvania, they do too. They have the service plazas on the turnpikes. Michigan doesn't have turnpikes or toll roads, but in Ohio they have the turnpike. They have the toll roads and everything, and they were closing down the turnpike service plazas as I was going through. So as a precaution, I would eat in my car anyway. Like even on the way down there, I would eat in my car. I would just get it to go, and I'd eat in the car, and just toss it or whatever, and then. But yeah, on the way down, or on the way back, they were literally like packing up the state of Ohio as I was driving through it.
I do remember as a bunch of us fish tubers went out to get some food, it was very strange to watch some people's reaction in these restaurants that were like, don't come in here, stay out. It was right on the cusp. I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. I mean, it's that whole thing runs the gamut now. Even in the state of Michigan, it's still. I mean, a lot of things are closed down. Even my kids haven't been in school this year. It depends. That's school district wide, but they've been doing virtual learning all year so far.
Right.
And so it's been interesting. But that whole thing was just interesting of like how, like how that even. I was surprised they had it. Like I was kind of, in a way, I was like hoping they'd make the decision for me either way.
Me too.
You
Like
know what I mean?
They're gonna say it's canceled. You can't come, but they didn't
Right.
do that.
And so eventually I'm like, I gotta go. And I guess if I don't make it, I guess if they cancel, I knew people would cancel on the way down. I knew that would happen. I was like, okay, well.
Well, we knew ahead of time. I think John had told us he wasn't going. I think Jason told us he wasn't going.
And then I think Scott and Liz were kind of like in the middle of it. Like I think he pinged me or whatever I was driving. Like, oh, okay. Actually, no, I think he pinged me. I was driving down on the Pennsylvania Turnpike where, like, literally, I think it was like going into the tunnel. Like, I had the van like on like two wheels going on the, because there's not roads like that around here. So I'm like, got the van on like two wheels, driving through the, through the.
Did you come down the extension, the turnpike extension?
I took the turnpike. Basically, got an I-75, took the 80-90 toll road till 76, okay. And then I got off somewhere. I'm trying to remember where it was. It was like I think it was like some sort of extension, and then some other road that went into, kind of took us into the DC area from there.
Right.
It wasn't a bad trip. It was a lot better than the aquatic experience trip.
Yeah.
Where I mean, it was 11 hours. I mean, that was a that's kind of the max trip. I know Bob was talking. I think that was a member stream, but yeah, he's like the bike will drive anywhere.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. Now, Tom is saying it depends on the state of the nature center, which is the building that has our meetings in it. The regulations, vaccine efficacy, you know the word, how good the vaccines are, and the safety profiles, which is so true. We want to make sure everybody is safe. I mean, it's not worth the fish. I don't know if knowing now what I knew then, or however you say that, if I would still go. But Haley made a good point is it gave us a chance, not knowing how not safe it could have been, gave us a real chance to shine as fish tubers and be a part of a community that we would have been like in the shadows of and not been able to. And you guys just rocked
Absolutely.
that auction like I've never seen before. It was so cool.
It's what's kind of funny is the going back to the auction. The guy, right? That guy has a connection up here in Michigan. It's kind of funny. So I may run into him again someday. That'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So Just My
Okay.
Fish says it can get impossible to add new fish to a tank you run for years. I had that problem with a big old fish killing anything new. Yeah, I have that problem with some of my fish, like my ambunas. If I want to add new fish, I have to add multiple fish at the same time and rearrange all the hides. But it's not just the big fish. I can't replicate this water because the older tanks, the TDS grows. I mean, I don't do 100% water changes, so it gets that old tank syndrome. It's got its own parameters that no matter what fish I got, it's getting used to in there, and I seem to have a problem with that. But I figure if I set up a new tank fresh, that would work. So now my quest is, I guess, well, here's something I could do. I have a 55-gallon here, a 55-gallon there, and a 55-gallon there. They're all 4-foot tanks by 12 inches. It would be a little tighter in here if they became 4-foot tanks by 2 feet.
Hmm.
Correct? Or even
Yep.
what is the 4-foot tank by 18 inches? What is that? The 75?
That's 75.
90?
Yep. And then the 90 is just a little bit taller.
Oh, okay. But when you gave me your scenario, you never even used 75 as a possibility as an upgrade from my 40 gallons or anything. You went right
I
to
didn't.
120. Why is
Yeah,
that?
I did, but it actually the thing is the 120s are probably a little harder to find than like a 75.
Well, I have a local fish store here that always has a 70, not always, many times a year has a 75 gallons on sale for $99.
That might be your ticket for some of it, for sure.
Is there any of those fish on my list that if they weren't in a community would be better off in a 75? Well, obviously they're all be better off in a 75 than a 40-gallon breeder, but
Yeah, you'd have to like say like the fish that were like I had in like the 180, like all the Sevrums and the Oscars. You might have to split those up into groups
okay.
if you were doing 75s. But um, the hair a foot. The Trimac and the Red Devil and the Puffer maybe could each have their own. I
Okay.
almost went that way. I almost went that way with some of those fish. Um,
Really?
I just wanted the depth for like especially the really big fish like the Trimac and the Red Devil and the Puffer, where I wanted that depth so they have some turning space.
So Tom says, I'm going to enjoy the next meeting because the speaker specializes in terrariums and dirt frogs. Yay, I win. I love that. And Holly, I got a super chat from Holly. Thank you so much, Holly. $2.99. Just in time. Thank you both. Getting ready to set up a 120. Isn't that great? What are you
Cool.
putting in your 120, Holly? I'd love to know. Just My Fish says you could go taller and stack higher. So I can touch my ceiling. I can't really go higher. I have two 40-gallon breeders on top of each other, that's about as good as it's going to get. Like, I don't think I could go, hi, Priscilla. I don't think I could go higher. But now in your barn, if you explain how you have it in your barn.
Yeah, I mean, this tank's not very clean, but basically, for example, and we're gonna mess up. So like, let me see. So basically, I have this 125, and then I have the 40 breeder on top up here. And I know the camera works poor on this, but so there's two 40 breeders and the 125 on the bottom.
Ah, the 125's on the bottom. How much on the bottom? Because that looked like eye level.
It's not. It's literally almost touching the ceiling. Those are the tanks, and let me get the camera so back up now. Maybe. Not even close. Sorry guys, just give me 1 second.
Checking out that hat up close and personal, man. I love it.
Yeah, this is. Yeah, I know I should have done that because I got the camera all messed up now. But it's okay.
Howdy, Bob.
All right, there we go.
Bob Taylor in the house.
Get a little bit of a different view.
Okay.
Or
So, and if you stood up, that's like at your knee level, and that's what you're at the bottom.
No, that's about my waist, or like mid thigh, call it.
And that's your bottom.
Yep.
Oh.
I actually do have a Taylor just right here. It is exactly about 28 inches high.
Okay, so my bottom is I got 40-gallon breeders that are 6 inches off the ground. And then they have about this much gap before I have my next level, which is it's a little lower than eye level, but it's perfect. And I was thinking that's where the 120 would go. But if I put the 120 closer to the bottom, maybe not 6 inches from the bottom, but closer to the bottom, and that 40 gallons on top as opposed to the other way around, I guess it's
you could do that.
One half a dozen or another.
Well, I guess it depends on how. It's a hard question because you're dealing with three axes, right? You're dealing with up, down, sideways, and the depth of it. So you're kind of. It's a hard, And the thing too is if you use the cinder blocks, it's going to be 8 inches off the ground.
That's minimum. That's right.
Yeah, the cinder block, they're normally, depending which ones you use, but the normal cinder block is 8 by 16.
I would think that, see, if I put a 120 that low to the ground, I mean, it'll be easy to clean, but am I going to be able to enjoy it?
But viewing too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the hard thing with tanks on the floor. Like upstairs, I have some tanks that are on the floor level, and they're hard to see. They're harder, you do YouTube, it's harder to film. Right. You've got to get the camera down there, and you've got to get down there on the floor, and
Hey, Science Gal. So Holly says she's got the 120 going up, and she's got 2 black angels. She's been growing out 3 blue rams. Any suggestions? Wow, I got tons of suggestions, but it's all my current fish.
I would say large cardinal tetras or some sort of schooling tetra is
really.
Yeah.
So maybe my mind is skewed to a 120. I'm thinking is a large tank. The fish that Holly said, I'm thinking a 55-gallon would be perfect. So what is it my thinking that's skewed? Because my angel.
No, you could do those in a 55. You could do those in a 55.
But she's doing a 120, so wouldn't she be able to have something like Severums in a tank with angels and barbs?
It's a personal preference thing, right? This is where it gets hard, right?
Yeah.
It was hard doing it for, like, say for you, like where I would do something different, maybe, right? Where, like, I mean, my 120 has Gobies, mollies, and rainbow fish in it. So it's kind of one of those. It's kind of one of those things where it's the general generally thing would be like say the general sort of consensus for a tank with rams and angelfish is sort of a schooling fish, right?
Right. So Tom says on 75 would be good for the morais. I got two of those morais.
Yep, that's he and I.
Go ahead.
Yep, he and I had the same thing.
Okay. So if I put the morais in a 75-gallon, would I be able to get a couple more?
Yes.
Okay.
I would almost tell you to get like 6
in a 75-gallon.
Yeah, you could probably do 6. They don't get terribly big, if I remember correctly. Maybe like 6-7 inches.
And the frontosas get much bigger.
Yeah, they're about a foot or so.
What's cracking, Fishy Biz? One cat lady too many. What? The hat came from Amazon. I got it from Mike for Christmas. Is that your woman there? One cat lady too many?
No, that's my sister.
Oh, hi. Oh, different lady. What's her name?
Yes, they're different. Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. Sarah's in the house. Oh, this is great. I think I got some great ideas, man. Great ideas. Oh, Bob posted your website, Fish Tank Barn. This is awesome.
Thank you.
So, since he posted it, talk a little bit about your channel. Where are you growing with it?
So I'm basically doing a lot of like tank tours, do some educational stuff, talk about fish you can put in a 20-gallon tank. Kind of doing a little bit of a series going through each 20-gallon tank, 29, 75. Do some species profile stuff. So kind of keep it on the educational side. I do still dabble occasionally in the saltwater stuff. In today's video about the 20-gallon tanks, I did talk about breeding clownfish a little bit at the end.
Yeah.
So kind of still delve a little bit into that. So definitely kind of do a lot of educational stuff. Try to keep it, give people some information. Try to learn myself as well. I mean, I learned a lot going through this exercise yesterday. Kind of learning a little bit about these fish that I really don't keep and aren't really around here that much. I mean, severums and Oscars and stuff, yeah, but the Viejas, and we didn't talk about the Goby, but the Goby,
Right, I have two clay Gobies that are absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
They kind of, at least the picture I saw, they kind of reminded me of walleye. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, and right now they're in a 29-gallon, and they seem to be doing fine. They don't seem to be growing, but I don't want to be the one that I don't want to stunt their growth by keeping them there. And somebody posted, Kevin posted, the depth in a 75 compared to a 55, 75 all day. So
I would agree.
It be an actual upgrade if I replace these 55s, which are 4 foot long, with 75s? I mean, it'd be a little bit of an upgrade, but would it be worth the bang for the buck?
I guess it depends where you head with it. It's one of these things. This is what's so hard about this is it's really what you want as a fish keeper and how you want to keep fish.
I want my fish to be happy and healthy, basically. But part of me wants to combine. I guess I love the idea of the community tank, but with larger fish. So right now, having the electric blue Jack Dempseys and the Pashirs, I don't know if they go together because they were brought up as babies together. Just like these frontosas and morais, I know they don't go together. They come from 2 different lakes in Africa, but mine are growing up together because I mixed the fry up by accident. That kind of thing. I just want to do the right thing by my fish.
Right, and I think, so I think if you, some of them, honestly, if you can get the 120, if you can find one at a reasonable price, I would do that over the 75. And if it takes you a little bit more time, then maybe I would do that.
Okay.
But I think the 120 does get a little bit cost prohibitive just by its nature compared to like the 125.
How much
Like
does the
you're not gonna.
120 usually go for? About.
I found mine used, so I don't know if it's custom or not. Like it's one of the more it's one of the lesser common tank sizes. Like you'd have to go to your fish store
Oh,
and ask for it.
oh, okay.
Where like you can go to Petco and get a 125.
Right. Well, I think Tom mentioned that there's a bit of a glass shortage right now, so tanks aren't as easy to come by, especially the
Yeah, so
larger
it's,
tanks.
yeah, so you're gonna have to do like the Craigslist thing, and that's how I got mine from a friend actually. Her dad was getting out of the hobby. He was someone I knew from saltwater for years, and he had a 125 and he had a 120, and I got a very reasonable price for it, plus a couple of songs. So
Okay. Oh, okay. And that's the other thing with the 120. Let's say some of my 40 breeders turned into 75s and my 55s turned into 120s. Would my sponge filters, because I got a linear piston air pump, would that system still suffice?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I run in here with about 100 tanks. I run four of them, two for downstairs, two for upstairs. But you could get away with one with a few tanks.
Okay.
Depending, obviously depending on how long your drops are and everything. But
Right.
it
Well,
doesn't
I
sound
think
like you'd
it'll be
have any.
the same amount of gallons. I just didn't know if, like, I guess it would. The sponge filters would be just as good in a 120 as it is in how it takes care of
Right,
my 40-gallon.
right. You may have to add a couple. Like you may need to add one or two. Like you may have two sponge filters running instead of one, so you may have more outlets. But you
Okay.
can run if you have the one that's the aquarium co-op sells. That runs about 40 to 50. So
Okay. Kevin says, I think if in doubt, go bigger, even if it may take a bit longer to get. Oh, okay. And Holly says, just realized that the pic I thought of a black marble angelfish on Q's wall behind her was actually cords. This up here? These guys down here are angelfish. These are my little blue angels that I just got. They're only like the size of quarters. They're gorgeous. But I figure they'll be fine in a 55 as they grow up. Right now they're in a 29-gallon. But did you think that was an angelfish? Is that what you mean? My cords on
uh,
the wall? I hear you. Frontosas are very docile. They get a bit skittish. Yes, they do. As they get older, so they
yes.
hide. Oh, okay, good. Oh, good. Bob Kaler's got his stream up there. He's up next. So make sure you click on this link in a few minutes. And we're all going to head over to Bob Kaler's.
Is that his YouTube link or is that his link to go up on StreamYard?
That's his link to go up on StreamYard next.
Okay.
Like, so we can click on that and follow him. I think that's right. Right, Bob? Yeah. I hate iPhones. I want an Android back. Oh. They might get a little hard to get used to, that's for sure. I'm getting gnats down here. Like I gotta have to get a gnat thing. They're probably coming from the plants, I bet.
Yeah. Or it's because it's cold too, right? Stuff comes inside
Yes.
when it gets cold. I
You
mean,
know what's coming inside? Something found their way in. Mice again. Mice. I got rid of my mice last year. And I was told it was sealed up tight. Don't have to worry about mice ever again. They lied to
they
me.
find a way.
Yeah.
Those they find a way. I've had a couple in here.
Mice in your
A
fish
little
room?
unnerving. Yeah.
So I got to be very careful with all my fish food. Get it cleaned up. I just bought some Tupperware to keep them in there because I don't have a refrigerator down here. Otherwise, I think I would keep the food in the refrigerator. But I want to just make sure that I'm not adding to the problem.
Yeah. I'm sure that the food, some food gets spilled on the floor and whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Love
So
those
I
red
had
shoulder
crickets.
severums.
Thank you. Yeah, crickets. We get crickets in here occasionally. and other critters.
Oh my gosh, there's times I have crickets. I
Oh,
think I drive people crazy.
oh, apparently I look bored. I didn't mean to look bored.
You look bored? Are you bored?
Apparently, no, not at all.
That's Mike. That's how he
I'm just like
looks. That's how he
I've
looks.
got I've got resting RBF.
That's funny. There. I have somebody. I was gonna say at work. I can say that now because I have two jobs. Nobody will know what I'm talking about. She absolutely has that. Is like, oh man, my three cats are lazy but never see a mouse. Ah, I thought about getting a cat, but I don't think I think my dog wouldn't want to play with it. I think she'd want to eat it. Oh, we got a good idea here. Buy the electronic mouse zapper. That sounds like fun. Am I allowed to say that? That sounds like fun.
It's it. There was guys back in the saltwater. I don't know if they still do it or not, but there's a sort of pest and enemy called like Mohanos or Aptasia,
Okay.
and they would shoot them with lasers. They'd buy like this big like laser kit, and they'd go in their tanks and they'd shoot these little anemones with lasers. They'd get the glasses on and everything, and they'd go start zapping and that like burn them with lasers.
Wow.
And it was you could like hurt yourself seriously because they were powerful enough to like blind your eyesight and stuff. Like you'd have to turn the lights off, put the glasses on, and have no one else in the room.
Okay.
And it's
So Craig is asking, the Severums are my thing. Oh, cool. They're becoming my thing. It all started with a one-eyed Willie. How old are they? I have 4 over there that are about the size of a 50-cent piece. They're younger. I've got 2 in here that are probably a year old, so they're only this big. And I got one that's it begins with a K. K-teal? Cocktail? Something like that. And that's only about that big. So they're young. I'm trying to mix them in as they're like, as soon as they came out of quarantine, I didn't want to keep them in a Severum only tank. So I have some over here with my angels, and I got some over there with my barbs. I just wanted them to be used to because I wasn't sure. I thought about this. This is a very good video because people on Facebook get very, very angry. There's, do your research first, and I am very bad with that. I do research to the point of, like, I know how big they're going to get. I know how quickly they're going to grow, but I don't always know what tank mates they can go with. Like, I don't know all the ins and outs. Like, but I got a friend, his name is Mark De Niro. He knows, like, things inside and out. Like, I can ask him. So when I went and got my Gymnogeophagus, I'm like, what would go with them? So he picked out some fish that would go great in there. And there's some red and black panda barbs. And he hooked up my tank so that we got the geophagus on the bottom, the barbs over here, top swimmers. And that tank is great. I love it. I don't think it's going to stay in my stay because Gymnogeos stay kind of small. Oh, he's talking about yours.
mine. So these I bought them in November of 2018, and I got them on a trip to Chicago. I actually went with Sergeant Tank, and I met up with Jeff Rose, and we all went over to Pleco Paradise at the time, and they were there. And they're a pair of Rio Nene Severums wild caught.
Rob's Aquarium Room says, Mike, I just saw your channel trailer, 2020. Nice trailer. I just subscribed to your channel.
Thank you very much.
So if you guys aren't subscribed to Mike, check him out. I noticed something about your logo and my whole person logo. They're the same colors.
Oh, really? That's funny.
It is. It's all the same 4 colors. I think you have one extra maroon in there, but the other 4 colors are the same as mine. White background with my Susie and my plants and my fish and my minis. That's pretty funny.
Cool. What I did is I took like a real estate logo, and I took like a fish, and I kind of cut off part of the real estate logo and put the fish behind it, and kind of made the fish tank farm that way.
I love it.
It's really so I combined 2. So it was kind of funny. It was like I struggled for a long time to come up with a good logo, and it was like I would know it when I saw it.
Ah, let's see if I have it here. I think I did.
Here, I'll post something. I'll post like hi or something so you can.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, do that.
Other than
There it is.
now
There it is. No, that's Bob
Okay.
Kaler. There you go. I think my thing is a little slow. Do you still
It
have
was
your
weird
Ember
on my-
Tetras? Oh, do I still have my Ember Tetras? Yes, I do. I have some Ember Tetras back here in this tank, and in my nano tank, I have a 29-gallon nano tank. 29 gallons with nano fish in it that has Ember Tetras. It's also got my CPDs. It's also got my Vakata Rainbows. I love that tank. Love that tank. Faith Temple
Yeah,
says,
some-
hi, Susie and Mike. Hi, Faith.
Hi, Faith.
Cool. Oh. So this was nice, Mike. I appreciate the logic behind. I appreciate the input.
No problem.
I think it's going to be like I'll get whatever tank I can actually get my hands on. I think what I'll do, instead of replacing a 40-gallon, because I'd have to tear down the whole rack, I'll replace like my 55-gallon. Like this, well, obviously if it'll fit a 4-foot, how hard can it be to switch it from 12 inches to 24 inches? Well,
Right.
it can be hard, but I'm going to make it.
Well, I mean, if you make the cinder block stand right, if you do, you can just turn it at an angle too, and they make the 8x8 cinder block as well if you needed to use that.
Okay. Okay, interesting.
Or if you make a wood one, I don't know how much you've done of that, but the idea is you want to keep the wood, you want to have all the weight resting on the wood going this direction, basically.
So I have watched about 15 different videos on how to make a stand, and they're similar to that aspect where where you need the pressure to sit and where you're not. Who made the one that I thought was great? I think it was
Ted Judy, maybe.
no,
There's a
his
Ted Judy one with the
his was
data.
amazing. His had made things I don't know how to make those kind of cuts, but KG Tropicals made one where instead of doing the dados, he built the wood around it like it was dadoed, and that
Yeah.
I think I could handle.
I've done, that's usually how I do it because I'm too lazy to make the dado cuts too.
Well,
And then I'd have to make
lazy.
them
I
the
don't know how to
same.
do that. I don't know how to do that.
You have to set like if you have a table saw, you have to set the blade height so it's not all the way through the 2x4. That's how I would do it if I were to do it.
Yeah, I might use some.
But it takes a lot of time.
I might.
Yeah,
have to use
but,
Kindle.
but like I said, it's kind of one of those things where it's just as easy to put another T-by-4 next to it and just kind of butt it together. I wish I had one sitting around here and I could show you, but I don't.
Right. And I think an upgrade to a 75 would be easy in the interim for the because right now my Red Devil and my Trimac are sharing a 75. So if they could each have their own, that's instant upgrade.
Right.
And that's just me. I have to learn how quickly some of these fish grow. Like the Oscar I know grew almost entirely in its first year. Like just exploded. I knew that was going to happen. So I got the big tank right from the get-go.
Right.
These other fish, I heard like my Fahaka puffer, he was the size of a pea puffer. And now he's this big. Like I can't imagine I'm not putting him in a 120. He's tiny. I just don't know how long he's going to be tiny. I got a tip here. Good day,
Yep.
T-Bones. Beware of marine land large tanks. Lots of leaking issues. This is good to know. I believe they recently ceased production of extra large tanks. Okay, so that's good to know, the marine land. King of DIY has videos of simple, no dado cut stands. Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah, so it's I've heard that too. I don't know if it's like the 300. I know they stopped doing custom tanks.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone's heard of Me Loves Reef on the saltwater side, but he had a custom marine land and he had a lot of trouble with it leaking at first.
Oh.
He had to like send it back and you know.
See, that's good to know, especially if I'm looking on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. If I see a large tank and it's a marine land, I'll probably steer away from it. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be the seals, right? I mean,
You
so
think?
I mean, resealing a tank isn't
I've never
terribly
done
hard.
that. I've never done that.
I've always been lazy when I've done it, and just taken the. I know you're supposed to completely take it apart, but I've usually just take the old silicone off and just go kind of over it, which is not the correct way to do it, but that's what I've done. So far that's worked out pretty well.
So Priscilla says her Fahaka is in a 125 and it seems pretty happy. So how old is your Fahaka, Priscilla? Susie, if you buy new, remember the warranty. Good point. Good point. Good point. Now, why my Fahaka doesn't seem to be growing? My Fahaka is this big. And I got him at the show we were in March. So I guess he's only 9 months old. That's where I got the ornate Calypterus and the Fahaka puffer. Oh yeah, Susie Q. I just adopted 2 more yellow belly sliders. Oh, my favorite. They will come with a 55-gallon, that's a bonus, and some glowfish. Awesome. 4 years old, I think. Okay. So I might as well just get the 120 because if he's going to grow almost to that size in 4 years, I might as well just get the largest tank possible.
Yeah,
That it could even be.
You may find you may find a 125 easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're easier to find at least around here, but I mean, I'm sure you could get it ordered too if you had to.
Okay.
Like Craigslist and stuff, you would probably have better luck with a 125 than a 120. But then you're getting 6 feet, so you can fit fewer tanks in your space.
Oh yeah, I can. No, there's only room for 4 foot. 4 foot. That part is very already spelled out. And if I go any deeper than 12 inches here, there's a doorway. See, this is the doorway here. I wouldn't be able to walk through the doorway. It's a really tight space. So Kyle suggested that I clean out my workshop back here. I got a workshop, my old sewing room. If I cleared that off and took down a wall, I would have that blank wall.
Just make sure you take down the right wall.
Well, I put it up so I know which wall it is.
Oh, okay.
It's like a floating wall.
Okay.
That's funny. Well, thank you, Mike. Now, we are all going to head over to Bob Kaler's stream because he's going to be streaming
Absolutely.
that. Thank you, everybody, for the super chats and all your input. And, Mike, thank you so much for helping. I mean,
No problem.
I was so overwhelmed. I was like, oh, my gosh, I don't even know where to start. Because I start with the dreaming. Like, let me plan it in my head. Let me dream. I couldn't even start the dreaming phase of it because I was so lost. So I really appreciate some. Mike, any thoughts on Sephora tanks? They took over Deep Blue, I believe.
I've always thought those were pretty good. I've had some of those in the past. I've had some that were just 20-gallon tanks, but I thought those tanks were pretty well built.
Yeah, Sephora?
Yeah. I've always been kind of the dollar per gallon. I mean, honestly, one of the tanks I have upstairs, one of the 75s, I actually found my neighbor 2 doors down actually threw it out in the trash.
Oh, wow.
And on my way to work, I just loaded it up in my van and put it in the back of my van and set it back up.
So, do we have Bob's link? I know he posted it. If somebody could link it again, that would be amazing. So it'd be easy for people to find. And is there any way you want to say to everybody before we leave?
Thank you for coming out. I mean, obviously, thank you for any input as well. Because I mean, this is like I said earlier. This is definitely something where you can go a lot of different ways with it. So
Awesome. And I am going to end with my infamous
Hey everybody, it's Susie Q and I'm here to show you just what I do. I have a passion for fish and exotics too, so come along with me, it's Susie Q. Hey everybody, it's Susie Q and I'm here to show you just what I do. I got a passion for fish and exotics too, so come along with me, it's Susie Q. Hey everybody, it's Susie Q and I'm here to show you just what I do. I have a passion for fish and exotics too, so come along with me, it's Susie Q. Hey everybody, it's Susie Q. Hey everybody, it's Susie Q. Na hey everybody, it's Susie Q, so come along with me. Said I'm Susie Q.